Welcome back to the channel Gadgets for Gentlemen. My name is Lawrence. In today's video I'm going to show you two Apple Watches. Here on the right we have a beautiful product, red Apple Watch band, 44 millimeters. Because here we have the 44 millimeters Apple Watch Nike edition, space gray. Here we have on the original graphite Milanese loop by Apple, the smaller sized 40 millimeters Apple Watch Nike SE. And in this video I want to show you, in terms of size, the difference between these two watches and also what they look like on a, I would consider, a smaller wrist, 6.3 inches wrist. So you can have a feel of what these watches would look like on your wrist if you are not familiar with the Apple Watch yet. First of all, I want to argue that the Apple Watch SE Nike 40 or 44 millimeters is maybe the best budget buy you can do in 2022. So currently we have a 3-layer Apple Watch setup in 2022. First of all, we have the Apple Watch Series 3 in the size 42 or 38 millimeters, which is the budget Apple Watch that you can have right now. And it has the oldest processor and features. In the middle segment we can find the SE, which is a fantastic Apple Watch that comes in the size 44 or 40 millimeters. And it features more updated technological aspects compared to the Series 3. And it is priced at a very affordable price point, starting at $279. And finally we have the Series 7 that starts at $399. Comes in the sizes 45 and 41 millimeters. My point here is, if you don't want to spend the bank on an Apple Watch, you want a proper Apple Watch, I think the SE is the Apple Watch that I would recommend. Because with the Apple Watch 7, it's a fantastic watch that is definitely going to last. But I think some of the technological aspects might not be something for everyone. I think the biggest plus of the Apple Watch Series 7 is the nearly 20% increased screen real estate compared to the Series SE. Second of all, what I think is important is the faster charge, always on display, and I would say a new chip, the S7, which can be up to 20% faster than the SE. And finally, also, I forgot about this part, the Series 7 is said to have a much better display in terms of crack resistance. So I think that's also something to consider. They say it has the most crack resistant front crystal ever and dust resistant. So all in all, what I want to argue here is the SE, I think, is a fantastic choice if you don't want to spend a whole lot of money on the Apple Watch. And for me personally, the Series 7 that I owned in the past does have amazing features, but it also has a ton of features that I'm not going to use. And I think that a price spike of $120 can be spent on something else. Here I'm talking about the blood oxygen app, I'm talking about ECG. These are some features of the Apple Watch Series 7 that I am unlikely going to use. Therefore for me the Apple Watch Series SE is, for me it's good enough. And also that 20% increased screen real estate. I think it's nice, but for me the current real estate of the Apple Watch Series SE is good enough for me. And also good to mention that a lot of things are actually the same between the Series 3, SE and 7. For example, we still have up to 80 hours battery life. Sizes are comparable between the 7 and the SE. The 7 is just a millimeter larger, and also the weight is just a little bit heavier compared to the SE. So let's demonstrate to you the Apple Watch SE. So there we have it on the wrist. Here again on the left, we have the 40 millimeters on the Milanese loop. And as you can see with my 6.3 inches wrist, the watch stays between the, let's say the edges of my wrist. Basically, I think it looks quite elegant, especially on this metal bracelet. And at the same time, we still have quite some screen real estate. The operation of the watch is quite quick. The processor, I think, is still up to speed in 2022. And here on the right, we have the larger 44 millimeters on a fantastic product red silicon band. And as you can see, in terms of screen real estate, it is quite a bit bigger, larger than the 40. But I think in terms of the wrist presence, I think this Apple Watch might be a little bit too big, personally, especially if you're dealing with some sleeves. It might be a bit bulky. And again, also, this one is like super quick. It has the most important features that I like to use. And I really like the original Nike watch faces that just look, I think, amazing. I would always recommend going for the Nike editions because you have these extra watch faces that you don't find in the regular Apple Watch. And if you don't use them, you can just find yourself another watch face. But you can't go the other route. So if you have the regular Apple Watch, you can't get the Nike watch faces as far as I'm aware of. And usually they're priced similar. So I would always opt going for the Nike edition. And again, if we look at that real estate, for me, I think the 40 is better because it's a little bit more elegant on the wrist. And I'm not using the features all the time with the Apple Watch. I'm just using it on the side, usually on my left wrist, the Apple Watch on my right wrist, a regular timepiece. And I just use it to measure my health. For example, the activity, the sleep monitoring. For me personally, this 40 millimeter Apple Watch looks a bit better on my wrist personally because of that shorter wrist span compared to the 44 that is as large as my wrist. But definitely if you want to use a lot of features, then I think with the 44 you have a little bit more extra screen real estate that you might like to use. You know, it's a great looking piece. For me personally, the SE is all that I need. I did not use the always on screen on the 7 because again, usually I have the regular timepiece on my right wrist that so I can quickly glance to check the time. And the Apple Watch, I had the always on display, I turn it off to save battery. I don't see the need to have a screen that is always on, but that's just my personal preference. And the added protection of the 7 for the screen, I think it's a great thing. Also the improved processor. But for me personally, I thought the 7 is quite expensive, and the SE pretty much has me covered on all aspects. But the Series 3 for me felt a little bit outdated. It was still working fine, but it was a little bit slow. And also the design for me was a little bit outdated because the Series 3 also is a millimeter thicker compared to the SE. So for me the S3 needed to go. I sold it and I bought the SE, which you can see here. I think I'm going to sell the 44 millimeters because it's a little bit on the larger side on my wrist. And it's a bit of a shame because I have quite some beautiful straps for the 44 millimeters. But I think after all, I think the 40 millimeters fits a little bit better on my small wrist, and definitely this will be a keeper. So this was my video just to show you what the size 40 and 44 millimeters of the SE look like on a 6.3 inches wrist. Again, I think this might be the best Apple Watch purchase in 2022 if you are not planning to use all the new features of the 7, and if you just want a basic but fast and reliable Apple Watch. I think this is a better deal than the Series 3. I would not recommend buying a Series 3 in 2022 anymore. If you want to, stay updated with the updates of the operating system. So I think this is the best watch purchase if you're not planning to use the new features of the Series 7 that I demonstrated in this video. I also include some daylight shots. Thank you for watching. Many more videos to come, and see you soon.